Welcome to Yogaxpress, your virtual stretch clinic that helps you move the body to still the mind. My name is Banu Suresh. I'm your host for this program. Today we have a pleasant surprise for you. We have a special guest today, someone you've been waiting for quite some time. I'm going to save him for the last, but I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions, and if you do, please feel free to email me, or you can email him directly. You can email our special guest directly. We'll have his credits at the end of this program and while he's addressing us during the program. To my immediate left, we have Sarah Torres. Sarah is a very familiar face on Yogaxpress. Sarah, welcome back to the show. We love having you here, and it's amazing how you always come looking different.
I think it's cool.
I think it's really cool. Okay. You were talking about, what did you call this? I said it was some kind of a military camouflage.
Yeah, it does look like
you thought it was like a fatigue.
I thought it was hearts, and you see the checks.
Right.
Maybe it's just in my head. I thought they were bows.
No, it's great. I just thought you came ready for battle right here.
I'm always ready for battle. I had a battle last night. I don't even want to talk about it. What's with the sound effects?
Well, that's the sound in the Himalayan mountains, the rustling of leaves, the waterfalls, the sound of birds chirping. Those are the sounds you're going to hear, the sound of eternity when you go climb the Himalayan mountains. What you call the cosmic sounds.
You hear all of that?
Well, apparently you do. I don't know who recorded that, but that music is from Saptatandavam, the first track. And okay. I will loan you a copy if you like.
It's interesting. No,
it is.
It sounded like static. I thought there was something wrong with it.
Josiane thought the same thing, our director. Josiane Hurd, our director in the control room, thank you so much for holding the fort. We know that you're flying solo today. We appreciate that you're there for us every time we need you, so thank you.
You hear the wand, too? Like there's somebody playing the harp in the Himalayas?
Yeah, the angels on the mountaintops. No, you know what? Actually, someone gave me a beautiful explanation. They said when you go to Mount Kailash, the Himalayan mountains, the Indian side of Himalayan mountains, the river Ganges basically flows. When the ice and snow melts from the mountains, it becomes the river Ganges, flows right through India. And the reason it's considered pure, when people die, I know people talk about the Ganges being polluted, but the reason it got polluted now is because everyone believes that that's where your eternal journey begins. After you die, they put the dead body into the water, into the Ganges, because it's so pure, because it's coming directly from the snow. And the reason that snow is so clean and pure is because mountain air is always fresh, right? So when you climb those mountains, or even nowadays they don't have tours right to the top of the Himalayan mountains, but even at the base, when you climb around the mountain, you hear all around you, there's the echo of the mountains around you, and you feel this cosmic vibration. All of a sudden, we're feeling very, very humble. You feel very humbled. That's why a lot of people make that their religious journey, like a pilgrimage towards the later years. As
Himalayan. That part of the Himalayan.
Body music that you hear right now, that's a beautiful sound level, Josiane. Thank you. Body music by Cesar Dipara, created just for Yogaxpress. Now, for the special moment we've all been waiting for, Dr. Mike Dioria to my right. May I call you, how can I address you?
You can address me as Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike, I have been very curious about the relationship between chiropractic and yoga. Dr. Mike Dioria is a chiropractor, and his credits will come up in just a moment. You will notice when you Google him, you will notice that chiropractic, and I don't know if you have a website yet, do you?
For a chiropractic, no.
No, okay. Do you have a personal website or a link where people can read a little bit about you? And if we haven't got it up, we'll do it in tomorrow's episode. But you do have something. People can
putting
look
one
up.
together now, but for the time being, people could just email me directly. I have an email address.
Yes, your email address is right there on the screen, Dr. Diaria's email. So after today's episode, I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions. Dr. Mike, I have been very curious. How would you associate chiropractic, the relationship between chiropractic and yoga?
Well, I'll start by explaining a little bit about chiropractic.
Please, yes.
Basically,
and I know Sarah's curious
The
too.
term chiropractic comes from a Latin term, and it means to be done by hand.
Oh, okay.
So everything we do is by hand.
Right.
And what we primarily do is work with the nervous system, and that's your brain and your spinal cord.
Right.
And throughout our lives, a lot of things we do involve compression, like sitting long periods of time, carrying things, leaning forward. A lot of our occupations involve that. So you're constantly compressing your spine and discs. And what happens is your spine is slowly going to shift in certain directions, and the bones are going to shift out of place.
Oh,
Is
wonderful.
that
That is
because-
such a beautiful explanation.
Is that when the discs slip, or is that something different?
That-
That just happens over time, or you have to?
That could lead into something. I'll answer that in one
As we're
second.
getting into
Oh,
the
sorry.
postures. No, that's fine.
Yeah,
Please
like
explain.
slowly your posture, if it's abnormal, or things we do throughout the day from birth until death. Even infants are falling down constantly, and that's where the trauma actually does start. Like they're falling, they're going to misalign their pelvis, and
I was going to ask about the term misalignment, so that is correct. So what
Yeah.
happens is you're not staying up the way we should.
what I like to tell people is basically in the spine, if you're looking for malfunction of the way the joints are moving, you're going to see a bone's going to be out of place, and it's going to move or wedge the disc that's in between, and that's going to put pressure on the nerves that come out of the side of your spine. And those nerves control every single aspect of your body, everything your body does,
Right.
including your blood flow, because the nerve controls a blood vessel, whether the blood vessel dilates or constricts. So basically, your brain and your spinal cord and your nervous system is like the lifeline of your body.
So
It
does this
controls everything.
Does this compression happen more in the lower extremities or in the arms as well?
That's an interesting point you bring up, because the compression, your nervous system is actually one organ. Your brain, your spinal cord, and all the nerves that come out
Okay.
is one organ. You could literally take it out of the body and lay it on the ground. It's not
So the
separated.
brain and the nerves. they're
Every single
attached.
nerve in your body is
Right.
attached
Oh,
together.
wow.
It's
So
like
your brain is not just floating in your skull.
Oh, no.
I knew it
No,
wasn't.
it's
Oh, no.
connected. Yeah,
I knew
yeah,
it
yeah.
had to
That's-
be attached to something, because
Right.
you
It's
you
attached
ask
to the
questions
spine.
in school and
Yeah.
they're like, well,
attached
it's
to
in
the
your
spine.
skull.
yeah, this
The
is
spinal cord,
this is one of the
right?
problems.
Why is it
Not necessarily in
up
our
and what
country,
keeping
but
it there?
a lot of people are misinformed, because a lot of what we do in chiropractic is just basic anatomy that people aren't informed about.
Right.
Like your brain is attached to your brain stem, and that comes right down to your spinal cord. Then the nerves come right off, and all these nerves and everything, there's input, output
That's
coming from
wonderful.
everything, going right into the spine, right out through the brain. The brain processes it, sends it right back down.
So
But
in
you got to
yoga we
keep
have-
everything is controlled.
We have the
through
term
it.
Shushumna Nadi, which is the spinal cord in
Mm-hmm.
yoga, and we talk about the nadis, which are nerves going out into the system. So when you
Yep.
talk about all the breath control,
Yeah.
it is compressing the nadis.
In
nerves.
different cultures, different styles, things like martial arts, other things, they
Right.
look into.
I was gonna
You
ask
might hear
about that.
different. Sometimes you'll hear different terminology, like chi, chakras, things like
Right,
that.
right.
Acupuncture works with certain aspects of it,
So
but
Dr.
like it
Mike,
all
you
ties
also,
in.
You also practice Tai Chi or martial arts?
Martial arts, yeah.
What other interests do you have? You seem to be all over the place. What else do you do?
Yeah, I keep busy.
What else do you do in your off time, in your downtime?
A lot of martial arts, weightlifting, aerobics. Always try to get to yoga once or twice a week.
Right.
Especially
you seem,
the
yeah,
more
you seem to
benefits
see a
learned.
very good connection between yoga
Yeah,
and
yoga, martial
chiropractic.
arts, and chiropractic all, in my opinion, kind of tie together.
Right. Does breath
Because-
have anything to do with that?
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
Maybe in the next episode, in tomorrow's episode, you can help us see how we can get deeper into the connection between yoga, martial arts, and
Yeah.
yoga.
a lot of
and,
times people
chiropractic.
just changing a few things with people's posture or breathing can actually have a huge effect on the outcome of everything they do.
Right.
A lot of people are chest breathers where you should be breathing from your
Through the
stomach.
abdomen. Right, there you go.
And-
So yoga's not far off. Good,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
glad to hear
Breathe through my
I
that.
could spend 10 minutes just talking about that alone because breathing too much from the chest is going to
Right.
tighten all your neck muscles. That's where you get the term and terminology of people hold all their stress in their neck and
Right, that's
it's from excessive chest breathing and they're not
Are
breathing
there certain
properly through there.
breathing exercises that you can help us with to
Oh,
understand
one of the basic things I tell my patients is you
Okay.
put one hand on your chest, one on your belly
Oh,
button,
we're ready, yeah.
and you
let's do
just
it.
watch the two hands. The one on your chest, you want to think of the stomach as your primary, like first breathing muscles,
Right.
and the ones on your chest are your secondary. That's when, say you're being chased by a lion, you're in trouble, you're going to get mugged in New York City.
Right. Palpitation
So,
happens, yeah. So this
basically-
calms you down, would you say? This kind of
Oh
breathing
no,
calms
this is
you.
where all your breathing should primarily come from, and the
Right.
hand on your chest during regular breathing. Like right now, we're just sitting and relaxing.
Right,
So
okay.
the hand on the chest, in my opinion, shouldn't be moving at all.
Right.
All the breathing should be coming from the bottom hand.
That's good
And
to
if
know.
you see your chest hand moving, then you're more of a
It's
chest breather.
wonderful that you explained it that way because in yoga we do always encourage ourselves to breathe through the belly, but I never realized why. So now it makes sense. Okay.
Yep, I tell a lot of patients that have a lot of tight neck muscles, neck pain, things like that. This is
Right.
one of the first
Because they're
home
breathing through the lungs.
exercises
Through
I'll
the
give them
chest.
because they're definitely chest breathers. I
Okay.
could see it just from watching. They'll come in, they're breathing through the chest, so right
Right.
away I know. I tell them they can you can practice laying on your back, you can practice sitting, just anytime you're watching TV. Like
Well,
a lot
let's
of
try
things.
one. Let's
It's like rebooting a computer. You want to.
Right,
It takes a little
re-energize.
practice. Like when you inhale in, the chest or the stomach comes out. Sorry, because you're bringing oxygen in. Then as you exhale out, stomach comes.
Sorry, Sarah,
in.
you had a question? You were going to ask something?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I
'cause
was gonna
breathe
get
through
to her
my
question
chest
in one
a
second.
lot, and I think it's because I'm always so nasally. And so I remember we were in a position downward. No,
I
it's
told
like
you she was
this.
going to ask. This was something that's been bothering her
I'm
for a
still
while.
gonna get back to her
and
other
when
question too.
When she
About the
when
disc
we were like
damage.
this,
All right.
it was easier for me to breathe through my stomach. But
You
when
notice
I'm
you'll get more oxygen breathing through the stomach too, so you're gonna have more energy throughout the day, and it's gonna
but
help
like
to
what can
strengthen
I do like
core.
when I'm sitting up like this? Because
Well, you know what? After Dr. Mike addresses your other question, we're going to do one full yogic breath and I'll talk ourselves through that.
Okay.
So then you can experience exactly what he's talking about. So hold that thought.
Yeah.
You had the
Because
answer
the
to
question
the
you
other
asked in the beginning is actually something very important. That's why I wanted to get back to it. You're asking if the disc could damage or rupture. A lot of times throughout life, if we go through and we don't take care of our spine through regular chiropractic adjustments, that's when we figure out how the bone is misaligned, and we do a very light, controlled thrust to take the pressure off the nerves, like I was explaining before, so the nerve can regain its function. You're gonna help the spine align. You want to keep the curves. You have 3 curves in your spine, one in the neck, one in the mid-back, one in the low back. And if you don't take care of the spine throughout life and you start getting some of that wedging, it's going to put pressure on the nerve, alter the flow. But sometimes you might have a major accident or just
Right.
continue that.
Is that what they call
Slow trauma.
scoliosis? Is that it?
No, that's a
Curvature of the spine?
little different.
Okay.
But the disc could either get to the point where it bulges and gets swollen, and then it's going to put excessive pressure on that nerve. That's where you might get a flare-up. Or it
a
could.
flare up like in pain, or you mean
Yeah,
something
like
else?
extreme
we
pain.
call it
Like
herniated
that's where
disc,
people would
right.
come in and like they're in agony rather than just generalized
Right.
pain. Like, and
So
a
when they come in
herniation
like that-
is
yeah.
when you have the
You just push
bulge
it back
or
in.
the.
But you get a hernia in your spine. I thought that was like a
Oh no,
No, no,
this
no,
is
no, you
different.
get a
This is
hernia
called
in your
the
spine.
disc herniation.
Oh, disc hernia.
Hernia.
A disc is
disc.
basically, it's pretty simple. It's 2 things. It's an outer layer of circular fibers that are very, very thick. I like to explain it like it being a tire on a car. And then in the middle of that, you have a jelly-like sac that the discs that makes up the disc. And then the 2 bones are able to move around that disc.
Oh,
And the
interesting.
disc compresses, expands, moves. It's like the shock absorber of your spine.
Right.
And we're constantly compressing. And there's only, as we get older, around the age of 20, we
dries
actually
out.
lose all the blood supply
That's
that
why
comes
older
to the
people
discs.
seem to get smaller and
Exactly.
smaller, right? Okay.
And people that do yoga, other things, they
they
tolerate
try
have
to
better
stretch
posture.
more. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a
And
wonderful explanation.
after the age of 20, we start to lose pretty much all the blood supply
20,
except
Sarah,
for
we
very
passed.
minimal.
I'm totally past my prime.
But you're doing yoga, so you're keeping
It'll
the
helping
fluid.
a little bit.
Yep.
Hopefully, yeah.
And there's only one way to get fluid in and out of the disc, because the disc is mostly made up of water and fluids.
Right.
And
So it's
don't
got
want
a
to get too
gel-like
advanced,
substance,
but it's a process called imbibition, where you're pumping fluid in, pumping fluid out. And the only way to do that is
Into
through
the
movement, proper movement, in proper
what-
positions.
Moving.
And that's where yoga, martial arts, and chiropractic adjustments all
wonderful
tie together.
Well, with that said, let's do a few stretches, basically to help to understand what Dr. Mike has just explained to us. And in tomorrow's episode, Dr. Mike, I hope you'll be back with us. We'd like to take our viewers through what we call the full yogic breath to synchronize with what you just said earlier about having one hand on the chest, one on the stomach. Today we're going to take you through some simple stretches. Sarah, your choice. You want knee benders, chest openers? Because Dr. Mike is going to,
Maybe
once
we
we
should
get
use
into the
some chest
postures-
openers because I be breathing too much.
Okay.
My neck don't never
Let's
hurt.
do
My
that.
back hurts me down here a lot.
Yeah, Dr. Mike will take us as we hold the postures. He's going to point out if we're doing something wrong. He'll point out, but give me just a moment. Before we move on, we're going to stand up in just a moment. That's for our director. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Melanie Morgan for the studio lights and the sound system. Also, a little bit of housekeeping. Those of you come and stretch with us on the show right here. We give you a copy of my third title, Yoga Secrets, which has 2 + 8 ailment-specific cards. I'm sorry, Josiane, that was a little rapid. 2 + 8 ailment-specific cards where we target different, about 32 major muscle groups, glands, and organs in the body, hopefully in under 20 minutes once you get used to the rhythm. So that's 48 stretches, 32 major muscle groups, glands, and organs in under 20 minutes. And with expertise and experience of specialists like Dr. Mike, I think we can take you really far in your yoga journey. So let's all stand up. Dr. Mike, feel free as we get in and out of the postures. You can feel free to get out of them and correct us if you feel, or also please help us. Give us some explanations of how it's helping us or how it's not helping us.
Sure.
Fortunately for us, viewers out there, please know that just because Dr. Mike is a doctor, it doesn't mean that's all he does. He also practices yoga, so he understands it. So all of you out there, whatever you're doing, just incorporate yoga into your daily fitness routine. So I'm the shortest, so I'm going to stagger forward.
Actually, like I was saying to you before, I actually give a lot of yoga poses to my patients as rehab exercises or to help them get out of pain quicker.
You know, that's why it helps so much that you're on today with us. I'm so glad we got hold of you because you practice yoga and you're able to share that with us now from a yoga perspective.
Yeah,
and
the
from a medical
combination of
perspective.
chiropractic adjustments and some yoga poses
Right.
I learned from my instructor in Connecticut.
I remember, yeah. Yeah, I
her name was Danuta. She taught me some poses, and I had what you were referring to before, a herniated disc and a bulge disc, and the poses were what actually helped me get my muscle to elongate more and rehab and get me out of pain quicker, along with the adjustments to heal up the nerves
Oh,
and the
okay.
discs.
This is great. We'll do a few chest openers, Sarah, since you brought it up. And I've got them sequenced into the asthma sequence right now. So here's what we're going to do. Heels together, toes apart, palms in front of your chest, elbows are raised. Close your eyes for just a moment and watch your body from the inside. Are you swaying to the left or to the right? And as you do that, make sure your shoulders don't slouch. So you want to take your shoulders back. Take a deep breath in. If you feel you're swaying to one side, center yourself. Inhale, take your arms up. Open your eyes as you go up. Now, hold it right there. I'm going to ask you, Dr. Mike, now when we're holding this right here, I notice I am trying my best to stretch, but I've heard teachers say, and I want a chiropractic perspective, when we stretch, we're stretching the discs between the vertebrae? Is that what we're doing? What are we doing? when
Yeah,
you stretch?
you're opening them up and
Making
stretching them
space?
slightly. Yeah,
Okay.
each joint is gonna expand slightly, not too much though, because your body's protected by something called ligaments, which
Oh, right,
cover
right,
them.
right.
But you do
Oh, we'd
want
be floating
some, you do want some motion to be able to come up.
Right, and
That's
that's
why-
why it's so important to keep stretching.
Yep, because like I said before, just even with gravity alone, if you
Right.
did nothing, the force of gravity is bringing you
Going to
down
bring us
throughout
down.
your life. So that combined with everything we do
Right.
is going to constantly compress us throughout our life. So doing the opposite, elongating, is very important.
Okay,
That's
okay. So when we're stretching, okay, that's good to know. You know what, when we get into the next posture, we're going to all turn to the right. Bring your arms to shoulder height. Bring your feet out. Bring your legs out about 3 feet apart and put your brakes on first. So bring your toes in. Make sure your feet are nice and secure. Once your feet are nice and firm, bring your left foot out so that the heel of the left foot is at a T with the inside of the upper right foot. Now we're going to go into a triangle posture, and while we are holding the posture, Dr. Mike is going to help us understand how this is helping our spine. And if we're not doing it correctly, please feel free to help align us. But feel free to also start off in this posture with us. Inhale, your arms up to shoulder height. Lean a little to your left. Exhale, dip your left hand in front of your left ankle and hold it right there. You should feel a delicious stretch in your abductors, the inside of your upper left thigh. Dr. Mike, when I've got my arm up like this, is my spine, for both Sarah and me, are we distorting our spine, or is this good? Because our spine is actually now in 3 directions, right? Is it true the spine moves in 6 directions?
Primarily three-dimensionally.
Okay.
But it depends on which way you look at it too, because
And you can also feel free to be in the stretch and talk to me without facing too, no problem.
some people look at it too. You can translate. That's when you're kind of moving side to side.
Oh, yeah.
And then you could come up and down, which what I was talking about before.
Right,
That'd
right,
be
going
the
up.
compression, decompression.
Yeah.
But primarily it's a 3-axis system, going forward and back, side to side, or
Let's
rotating.
inhale, come up. Oh, okay. So let's inhale and come up. Turn your left foot in. Turn your right foot out. Look at the tip of your fingers on the right hand. Lean a little to your right. Exhale. Dip your right hand in front of your right ankle. And we were talking about chest openers, Dr. Mike. This is where I'm talking about the chest opener on the left side this time. Inhale, take your left arm all the way up, and then take your left shoulder back. So remember I asked about the curvature of the spine. So in this posture, actually in the triangle, our spine is just going as a kind of an S all the way, or is it an S or an L? Because we've got our leg on the floor, but we have suspended our body. So is that okay?
More of an S posture.
More of an S, right?
But, yeah, what I've noticed throughout practice though is most people tend to have a straightened neck curve because
Right.
of what we do.
Uh-huh.
So yoga is actually very good because it's going to help to restore the curve if you're conscious of your neck as you're working on it. So like a lot of times I try to keep my chin up, head, and you always want to keep that elongation.
Right.
Like you want the finger out, you want, pretend there's like a string on top of your head, pulling it straight up.
Yes, I remember
Keep-
some yoga teachers would say that, and I never understood why.
And then always focus on that stomach breathing if you can while you're in the
Okay.
pose too.
Belly breath. Inhale. Let's come up. Bring your arms up to shoulder height. Keep your right foot out where it is. We're going to do just another 3 more stretches. We've got 5 minutes, so we'll do another 6 postures. Keep your right foot turned out. Exhale, bend the right knee. Keep exhaling. Dip your right hand in front of your right ankle this time. Take your left arm all the way up. Now, is this posture helping ease any tension in the spine? Because a triangle, our leg was straight. Is this helping in any other way, or is it the same curvature of the spine which is making space?
But the curvature is going to be from the participant. You always want to keep in mind the curvature in the low back should come inward towards
Okay.
your belly
Oh,
button.
that's good to know. Okay.
The mid back comes outward and the neck comes inward.
Okay.
That actually develops from birth. When a baby's crawling, when an infant starts standing up, that's when the neck curve starts to develop.
Right.
Because now the baby has to hold the weight of its head up.
Oh,
So
that's right. Yeah.
the curve starts to develop slowly in the infant's neck. That's why it's important to let an infant develop at its own pace and
Right.
not force things like walking, crawling, things
Okay.
like that, because it's going to disrupt the formation of the curves in the spine.
Inhale. Let's come up. I have, when you talk about the formation of the spine, I have another question. Turn your right foot in. Let's do the Veerabhadra or Brave Warrior on the other side. Exhale. Bend your left knee. Keep exhaling. Dip your left arm in front of your left ankle. Take your right arm all the way up. Take your right shoulder back. And then if you just want to get a little more of a stretch, take your right arm all the way overhead. But this is about chest openers today, so you could just keep your right arm up if you wish. while I'm in this posture, I was curious about something. My son used to do weightlifting when he was about 16. Oh no, actually 14. He was a big guy. But my dad would get very upset. He said, this is not the age to do weightlifting because it stunts your growth. Is that true?
At the
Inhale,
age,
let's
at the
come
age
up.
of
He was
14 or
14.
15?
Yeah. Straighten your left knee, turn your left foot in, bring your arms down, wiggle your feet close. I'm just curious. Let's turn to face the front of the camera. I'm curious, why is that so important to, like, what is the full growth? At what age do people grow fully? Because you mentioned babies, so.
Yeah, up till close to the age of 20 or 22-ish,
You're still
we have what happens in the bones, all the bones in our body is towards the end of them, and in certain bones, different parts of the bone, but mostly on the ends of the bones, there's cartilage, which allows the bone to continue to grow as we
Okay.
get older. And if you start weightlifting very heavily in an
That
early
stunts
age,
it.
you're gonna push on that cartilage and kill that cartilage, some of it.
It's,
So,
okay, the coin drops
Yeah.
because that's when you talked about after the age of 20 we start getting shorter. Oh, basically we don't grow too much more after the
yeah, that would be the cartilage in the bones, and
Okay.
same with the spine too, because as we're younger, we
Right.
have more fluid in the discs. So,
Right. Oh wow,
So,
that's so
can I ask
nice.
a question?
Yeah, of course, of course.
All right. Now, with the whole growing and stuff, so how do you know if you stunted your growth? Like, if everybody in your family is tall and you're short, do you have to assume you stunted your growth?
no, that's
Not too
that's
much
almost
fizzy
hard
drinks.
to tell. The only way you'd be able to tell that is by taking x-rays at certain periods of time in your life to see
Oh, the
if
difference.
there was
Right.
when the growth plates in the bones were open compared to closed. But it's almost a question that just can't be answered. I mean,
Oh, well, we'll look
that's
at
more
it in the
genetics.
next posture. But yeah, and we need to talk about the fizzy drinks
It's
though.
interesting too, though, because a lot of people have certain curves in the spine. What you asked before,
Right.
scoliosis is basically, if you're looking at the spine from a midline, straight on view, all a scoliosis means is it's a deviation from
Oh,
that
the
midline.
Oh,
Right,
it's not the
right.
question mark thing?
It could, no,
It's not that bad, right? That's,
While-
some
while
people,
he's
there's all
explaining,
different
we're also gonna
types. You
keep
can have,
stretching.
you can have a
I'm gonna
scoliosis.
turn to face the front left of the camera, but keep talking.
Yeah, you could have a
Well, keep both your
scoliosis
feet close.
anywhere in the spine. You could have just one in the neck, a small one, because of if you
Palms
have a
on your
disc
buttocks.
that's wedged, it's going to cause a curve in the neck to compensate for that. Almost as if I was standing on one of the yoga blocks, it's going to cause me to tilt to the left,
Ah.
and then the head's going to balance out to the right, so you can have one curve in the
We have the
neck.
titles rolling. We're going to do 2 more postures if we can. We have about a minute left. Palms. Bring your feet about 6 to 8 inches apart. Palms on your buttocks. Push your elbows back. Now, this is the part where we're going to take our chest, open up our chest, chin up, inhale. Once you go past midpoint, glide your palms down the back of your thighs. Bend your knees if you need to. You want to make sure that you do not move your spine from left to right, or you're going to have Dr. Mike come after you. You want to stay nice and centered. Inhale, let's come up. And then just to ease any potential tension in your spine, let's move from side to side.